Yes, yes. How's it going, good people? This is Zaire coming back at you once again. It's been quite some time, but I'm back. My bad for the MIA. Hey, life been life, and man, we all on our grind, taking care of my business, man. But here I am. I'm back in effect. Hopefully soon I'll be able to do this full time. With your help and God's will, right? Well, a lot of things been going on, and I hope all's been going well with you and yours and your family, and and we're going to get through this thing together. There's a lot going on in the world. I had some friends ask me to comment on this Michael B. Jordan when I didn't get a chance to actually comment on it, though I've seen a lot of people comment on it, and it's only right that I do because he's a young brother who made it to the top of his game. And it's only right because it's definitely a lesson in commitment and focus. And I just wanted to give my 2 cents in on it. Right. So from, Michael B. Jordan, he's raised in Jersey, actually Newark, New Jersey, which, I know something about because me coming from New York, we always knew about Newark. We used to nickname it Brick City because, it was a tough town. It had its great parts. I used to love to go out there across the bridge there to get some halal food. Shout out to the Muslims out there. The Muslim community is strong out there. And brothers hold it down, sisters as well. And Newark, that's a real town. It's just as tough as the Bronx or Brooklyn or any other town, Harlem or whatever. They represent New Jersey to the fullest. So shout out to them. And that's the environment that he grew up in. Yeah, he was technically born in California, I believe, Santa Ana, California. But, he moved to New Jersey when he was about 2, 3 years old. So that's basically where he's from, And at one point, I remember in the 90s, Brick City, New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey was like considered the car theft capital of the country in the 90s. They had a movie based on it called New Jersey Drive, I believe. Yeah. So I'm giving you that background and that context to kind of show you, what he grew up in. And, he didn't grow up in some valley town suburbs. He could have went any direction in his life, but he stayed focused on what he was trying to achieve. And he did just that, with the help of his parents. Shout out to his moms. I heard him mention her when she used to drive him to all his auditions as a child. And I'm sure that was hard on her, working and paying all that gas money and, and just tired probably, but investing in her child, loving and believing in her child, and the sacrifice that she made so that he could be where he's at. Nobody gets to where they're going to go to alone. Nobody gets there alone. We all have to have some type of help, and it's always important to acknowledge that help along the way, and once you get to where you're going, to look back and, hey, thanks so much, and just give appreciation, because none of us are island, you know what I mean? So shout out to his father as well. What I'm saying? He's a deep brother from what I understand. So comes up in Newark, and first time I noticed him was on a HBO series called The Wire. Based out of Baltimore, great film script. I used to watch the series every week that it came on. And at that time, Idris Elba was making his bones, and Wood Harris. So those were kind of like the main characters among some others. And he kind of made like a little debut as far as, to my eyes, because he was already acting, doing commercials and having small roles. But that's the first time, any significant number of people really noticed him. But his character didn't last long. He was played like a young teenage drug dealer, and I think his character got killed off early. But still, you remembered him if you saw the series. And still, he came back again, the Fruitville Station. where he was taken more seriously, as an actor, and I think he won some awards for that. Ryan Coogler went on to cast him as Killmonger and Black Panther, which was a major step for him. Obviously, that's the highest grossing, I think, action film or Marvel film of all time, which was a great look for him. He might have been the most memorable villain since probably uh, uh, the Joker in Batman. Playing Killmonger. He definitely had a memorable role. So he just showed a lot of range in what he could do. And still, what I like about him is the man stayed humble through it all. Played Creed, got in the Creed series with Sylvester Stallone, and became Apollo Creed's son, who grew up and kind of held down his father's name, which was another great thing. Very humble guy. The social media went on about who he was dating with Lori Harvey, and before her, he dated, I think, some white and Hispanic women and so forth. I think maybe even an Asian girl. But whatever it was, he always kind of, no matter what people said, I noticed he had class about him. He never came out and like disrespected her. You know what I'm saying? Nothing crazy, anything, how people tear each other down in the media. And he could have did all of that, but he didn't. He kind of walked tall and did his thing, and whatever. If he has some kind of feelings, he reserved those feelings to himself. He didn't put it out there to the public because, and I like that because that was their business, really, whatever was going on in their relationship. All relationships don't last, y'all. It's like, hey, you're young, you're single, you're dating. Just a girl he dated, moved on, and what I like is that he stayed focused on his craft and he never let any of that distract him from reaching his goal. So he ends up winning Best Actor and thriller produced and directed by Ryan Coogler, called Sinners. So he ends up winning Best Actor, actually playing like two characters, in the movie, which was, I saw some of it. It was a phenomenal job. And I believe Ryan Coogler actually won for Best Picture too, and won an Oscar for Best Movie as well. So it's like a double win, and these are basically young guys. I know that Michael B. Jordan I believe he's in like his late 30s. So it's a lesson in commitment, focus, and determination. When you want something, you won't let anything keep you from your goal. You won't let anything deter you from what you're trying to get to in life, And I like that about him, and I wish him all the success in the world because nothing comes without sacrifice. You're going to get tested in this world. The question is, who are you going to be when you get tested? Everybody's not going to be an actor. Everybody's not going to be an entertainer, but you can be focused. You can take his level of focus and apply it to whatever it is that you're going at in life. You can do that, or maybe you already have focus. Great. You know what I'm saying? But some people don't, So sometimes you got to get it from somewhere, have some kind of spiritual foundation and some direction in your life, and maybe somebody else will motivate you to do that. I believe he's one of those brothers, and I respect him really because, not just because where he made it to, but actually where he made it from. Because sometimes that's how you got to measure a person, and you got to put everything in context because based on where you're from and where you made it to, I'm saying it really is the measure of the man that you are. Because if you already are born in a certain situation and you don't really have any kind of adversity, that's cool that, if you're successful and you continue that. But when you have a lot of adversity to overcome, that says a whole lot about who you are. And he did, and he overcame it. I mean, some of the girls, some of the chicks, they tried to cornball him out, he was kind of nerdy as a kid. I remember one young lady, she was talking about him in a certain kind of way. Hey, when he was in high school, he was this or he was that. Okay, maybe he was. Everybody's not going to be the cool kid. In fact, it's the nerdy kids that end up running the world. It's the nerdy kids that grow up, end up hiring the so-called cool kids or used to be cool kids. So we got to redefine what's really cool in our culture and redefine what's really corny in our culture. We have to redefine that, what I'm saying, kind of grow up. And I'm not knocking her for if she cracked on them or whatever like that when they were kids, because we all cracked and snapped on each other and roast each other with children. You know what I mean? You don't know if somebody's going to grow up to win an Oscar or, become the NBA champion, of the world or, whatever they may, you don't know what they're going to be. You just kids, and you just kind of really, if you really look at it, it builds character because the world isn't easy on you. And if you can take all of that, you can basically build thick skin for yourself, you know what I mean? And basically go out and be able to kind of defend yourself in whatever it is that you go out in the world and do. So, I'm not going, I'm going to be easy on the young lady because at the end of the day, people say all kind of things. We all are trying to make it in this world. But shout out to Michael B. Jordan for staying the course, being an example of what it means to be a young black successful man and stay focused through all kinds of weather patterns. You know what I mean? And shout out to you, your moms, and your dad. There's only one direction. This is Zaire. I'm out. Peace.